Australia, which is common to see on there. No, I'm not talking about the Symmetra. That's just to get the Orisa on high ground. Where you have some thoughts on that. I'll give you a second to go on that. But we do have CKM going to the Junkrat.
Yeah, I like the composition that Australia is bringing to bear here. Of course, this Orisa Junkrat so devastating on Anubis. If you can get 1 or 2 picks, sometimes fights just completely crumble and you can get minutes off the clock. But at the same time, I actually don't like this passive high ground defense setup. I think the strength of the Junkrat in this map is playing as close to that forward choke as possible. That's maximum splash damage, maximum mind pressure. We'll see if Denmark can capitalize from this more defensive position from Team Australia. But at the same time, running the Brigitte and the Ana, it's going to be very difficult to attack either side. If you go on the Brigitte and the Ana, the D.Va is going to come save them. But if you go on the Orisa and her DPS counterparts, they're going to get saved by armor packs and Bionades.
So we'll see just how this engage plays out. But for now, Huss can feel pretty comfortable behind the Brigitte on the back line. But to your point is that Denmark, they're going to be able to very easily get through the archway, not contested at all. Denmark,
though, on a single healer setup, going to rely on Ding to get a lot of value with that Widowmaker, potentially forcing Huss to constantly watch the choke.
Fisher was under pressure there. He did hit the Widowmine even though to get the trap, and because of that, Punk was able to chase him down. So the Widowmine positioning from Widowmine positioning from Huss really working out there.
Yeah, Australia getting a lot of value out of that trap. Gonna force a reset out of Team Denmark, but with this passive position, you're not able to evict the tanks of Denmark out of the flank. They're able to stay in their setup, and they're really just waiting for Genji. So not as much value as you could possibly get out of a pick on Temple of Anubis.
Australia not really altering their defensive position at all. Whew, Shaxx almost getting picked up there. Meanwhile, see Danny getting demeched. And Australia, they're just being very composed here on the point. Denmark doesn't really have the code to crack this just yet.
Yeah, confident in their positions is Team Australia, and so far it's working out really well for them. Ding finding almost no damage on this Widowmaker, pretty much just passive ult building here, and Huss close to this Infra site could shut down another offense from Team Denmark. But Denmark, it looks like finally getting that Tracer successfully to the high ground, potentially setting up a flank on the Brigitte.
So now this is full-on dive from Denmark, going straight for the high ground, but Australia had the answer. They punish her immediately, but they let him get res. Still, Huss able to get on Ding. CKM under pressure, 17 HP, and yet still alive. Denmark, though, they're gonna lose Kellex. And Australia still trying to stay in there. You had the nano-boosted Orisa on the top. Fisher, though, really farming up ult charge on that right now, but under pressure, 3 HP. Is he gonna be able to get away? No,
Trill
not quite.
finishes the kill. 1 second on the dash cooldown, and not even a tick of progress for Team Denmark. Committing ults here, though, is nerfed. This is very surprising to see. They feel like they can win this fight.
I think they're a little bit misled then, because it doesn't seem to be the case as Trill dropped the bongos, the supercharger, and just lays into the Winston there. And all right, Jack's got the supercharger. Doesn't get much else. Self-destruct a little bit weird there, but Australia for now is holding their form.
Here's the struggle for Team Australia. They have no defensive support ultimates to deal with this Valk Blade that will be coming in from Fisher. It's really all on Fisher to perform here. He could really cleave up this defense from Australia.
Huss holding here on the high ground. No longer has the Orisa right with him, so he's a little bit more vulnerable to getting poked down from afar. And he's going to be really watching that right-hand side. Doesn't want to get to move on in. But now, Riptire out from CKM, going around the back end, looking for Denmark. Gonna get, no, doesn't get the DMAC. Danny's actually still okay. Meanwhile, you have Fisher with the Dragon Blade pushed on back. Wasn't able to dive in on Australia, so Australia still making the most of it here, and Danny wasn't able to recover his HP.
The nano boosted Brigitte, just too much for a Genji to get through, but the beat drop comes through from Denmark, and it doesn't look like there's any more answers left from Team Australia, though. Huss finding Kellex, that's a crucial pick, but a lot of red in the kill feed here. It looks like Denmark's going to be taking this to their spawn advantage. Oh no! Crucial kills coming in there from CKM. They can't finish off this Junkrat.
They can't kill the Orisa either. The stick, though, finally deals with the Junkrat in an explosive way to get rid of your vermin problem, I suppose. Shaxx doing what the rest of his team could not, even gets the DMAC. And oh man, this has been a struggle for Denmark. They're finally going to get to the point. Australia has bought a lot of time.
Great awareness from Denmark, believing they could win that fight. I didn't think they could, but finally with the spawn advantage, able to trade enough kills that they're able to take point A. But 3.5 minutes off the clock, Team Australia is going to be happy with that defense. If they can stabilize for even one fight here on second point, their time is going to be looking really good. Denmark making a full swap, even giving up their Primal Rage. They really favor this 3-3 composition.
Denmark setting up here, and yeah, I mean, this is a classic, so to speak, the ye old goats-esque style. And we'll see just how it works. They're going to immediately go into the left-hand side, and when you're going this sort of gameplay, what you do is that you try and be full HP when you get to the point.
Here's the problem, though. CKM so late to switch on the Junkrat. Everybody is full HP for the side of Team Denmark. Almost no damage really coming in so far. At least Shaxx is left. That's going to slow down the damage coming out from Team Denmark.
Engage is on right now. Danny, gonna get demeched early. Australia now with options to slowly pick this apart. Once you lose one part of this sort of composition, it really starts going against you in a hurry. Denmark, though, they found Huss. They've already been able to get one tick. They get 2 ticks. Australia, you gotta put bodies on the point. No longer can you wait. Here comes a tire from CKM. Needs to be a big one. And oh, it's taken down. He waited too long.
Shaxx a little bit too energized there. CKM too slow, not farming that tire in time. And now so many ultimates on the point for Team Denmark. It looks like all cleanup at this point. Nerf sitting on that shatter. Custom takes the nano boost, just doing anything he can to stay on point. But it's too much and a huge shatter. Those are the stallers. They need them to be wasting time on point. But that's it. Team Denmark, that's why you run the 3-3 comp, making it look easy there.
And that was a well-executed 3-3 where you think about the stages of your 3-3 setup. What is the first stage? Getting to the point without losing anyone. They easily went in through the middle, came around the left-hand side, healed up in the left corner, and then went in. And there was no great response from Australia. And I would say also that Riptide at the end, that could have changed things, but just CKM waited too long.
Well, he just got it right then. I mean, here's the problem for CKM. He switches over to the Genji, believing that Denmark's going to try and snowball and just keep playing their dive composition. But when they make the swap to 3-3, he's too slow to get back onto the Junkrat. The crucial moment for Junkrat is, in fact, when the enemy is in those chokes. Right when they're coming in, those initial 3 chokes of Temple of Anubis, that's your prime moment to get pigs, split the enemy team up, and start charging that Riptire. But because CKM is still in spot at that point, he's not putting out damage until Denmark's already on the point. At that point, it's really just too little too late. By the time he's got the tire, Shaxx is energized, he's got another bubble cooldown, and there's really just no tire targets left.
CKM definitely having a rougher go there, but there's always time for redemption, and you could have it here on the attack. Like we were saying in the intro, this is definitely a map where Genjis can shine, where good Genji gameplay can use the terrain to the map to get an edge on the opponents, and we'll see what CKM has in store here.
Yeah, that was very interesting offense from Team Denmark. Pretty much the opposite of what you expect to see on Temple of Anubis. Relatively quick A takes, followed by long sieges of that second point. But Denmark flipping the script, looking very, very strong on point B. That portends well for their overtime pushes. And Denmark going with a similar composition to Team Australia, but playing this forward position, getting much more aggressive into the choke. I like this decision-making a little bit more from Team Denmark.
Also, the trap, it's a classic. That's what we're going to call it here. The trap in that part of Temple Anubis for the rest of the weekend, it's a classic.
It's very difficult to clear because of the angle there, and on top of that, with the Venom Mine, anyone trying to slip through like a Sombra is still going to catch that poison and get scouted.
We'll see if someone on Australia ends up catching that trap where, again, I mean, it's a composition, but when you're under pressure, you don't always look out for it. Uh-oh, that was close to someone getting caught, but I do think they're able to clear. Fisher, though, was there, still able to get a punish.
Yeah, finds the trap. CKM's now in the flank. Only the Zenyatta or 4 heals. He's going to be forced quickly back out to choke. Great moves by Denmark. This is the strength of holding forward. You're able, when you get those 1-2 picks, to just shove everyone out of the flanks, force them to reset all the way into spawn, rather than just resetting to the Mega.
So we do have CKM that was able to get through that first hurdle. He's through the archway right now, but he seems to be under pressure. He can't get the next hurdle for Genji, which is to get to the back line. And he's trying to fight his way through, but he's getting checked by the D.Va.
See, Danny's constantly in his face, not letting him get the surround that he wants. He's going to be forced to take a suboptimal angle of initiation. And Denmark just building their ults over time here. This is really slow timing for Team Australia. They haven't really been able to get any semblance of an offense here.
And Shaxx isn't under any pressure at all because of the pressure that's going in on CKM. Oh, almost does get picked off just as I say that. Not quite entirely cursed him, but yeah, I cursed him a little bit. Trill able to finish the point there. Was able to get to the back line. So Denmark leading a bit here on the first point. Australia looking for a way in. CKM 70% and building. But with Huss going down, Australia might want to hold back a bit. We'll see how this works. CKM going in deeper, but I don't know if he wants to take that fight.
Fisher daring CKM to fight him, but in those close corridors, Junkrat is king, and Fisher almost with the rip tire. Australia needs to make a play quick before this tire comes out.
Self-destruct coming out here from Denmark again to make a little bit of room. But Danny just going to remech. Meanwhile, you see CKM working at 93% right now. Real close to the blade, but it's taken a while to build up. Tire up from the defense, and CKM might want to hold on to the blade here. The tire taking a long way and gets 2! Both supports. Better late than never.
Great targeting by Fisher, taking down the Ana and the Zenyatta. That's going to spell the end of the push for Team Australia, but at least this time they were able to get that fight going, build up some ultimates. Shaxx, feeling the pressure falling on that Widowmaker, is coming back on Tracer, but I don't even dislike this composition from Team Denmark. Shaxx is going to be able to force the Mercy back.
We've worked back in time, my friend.
And here we're back. Oh, when you see the Riptire here coming in for the supports. Nice wall ride there, just slipping around the corridor. Sometimes the last minute Zenyatta right click can shut those down.
All right, so looking at the live gameplay here, CKM Nano Blade gets Fisher. That's what he's looking for. Huss didn't even set it up with the EMP, but he gets rid of the Junkrat problem. The problem is that they weren't able to camp the body. The Resurrection comes back in. Fisher is back in play and is a DPS. It's going to be up to him because Shaxx is down early. CKM diving in. Now, 53 HP. Denmark's, though, still holding firm. You look at their health. They're not in a bad situation here. Danny, self-destruct in reserve. He's going to use it. No!
He gets hacked. Put the trap on CKM. Uses his reflex. Fisher taking so much pressure, but nice patience. Takes down the Genji there, but Kelix falls. There's no more heals left for Team Denmark. Shaxx finding kill after kill, though. Somehow, Denmark is turning this fight potentially, but I think the spawn advantage for Australia will just be too much here.
The spawn advantage is going to be too much. Australia able to pummel their way through, but man, it took about just about everything that they had here. And one good defense, I guess, deserves another. This is about the same as what Australia did for their defense. We'll see if their offense will be good here as well.
Fisher being a very tough rat to eradicate. That's exactly how you want to play Junkrat. Abuse those small corridors, force enemies into your stronghold. And now CKM making the swap to the Brigida. I expect Fisher to just keep this Junkrat. I mean, there's not too many answers to the Riptire here.
I mean, really, you still want to hold the tire here, right? There's not really a downside, even if you're deciding to swap after. Tire's a tire, and now he's going to say fire in the hole. Let's see exactly where it goes. Going up over the top. Tire's wounded 3 HP, and down! Punk was right there. Fisher, I don't even think, saw it. So the tire's wasted. I think Fisher might be swapping.
Yeah, he might elect to swap, but Junkrat could still get value in these situations. It looks like he's still fighting, taking a bit of damage here. It's Shaxx who's going to make the swap under the Brigida. Protect that Junkrat and keep him fighting.
So now you see Australia diving in deeper. They know they don't have to worry about the tire anymore. Taking advantage of the situation. They know Denmark is low. Danny about to get D-Mech and does. Here comes Huss, going to drop the EMP. Australia going right into the spawn, but they're not able to get the pickoffs. They knock Denmark all the way back to the spawn. Denmark is still pretty healthy. They can come back out to this fight. Even as Troll uses the Primal Ray, he gets stunned. Has to back on out, but Kelix going down. Australia now getting a little bit of momentum. They invest the Transcend.
The Transcendence is coming out, but Ding's still alive back here. They can't seem to evict him from this back quarter of point. Using that bound to just keep himself in the fight. Fisher's back on the Doomfist, but it's only him contesting the point. No, the Primal Rage comes out and another sleep from a Kraken.
Oh boy, every time you think Winston is going to go wild, they end up sleeping instead. Australia getting the cleanup they need right here. They're going to drop the rally. CKM now on the Brigida, tossing out the armor. Australia at 1 tick, looking for more. Nerf though, gonna fall, and Denmark is on the ropes. Emergency Doomfist is immediately out of play.
This could be the beginning of a big turn though. Both healers for Australia down for a few moments before they come back from spawn. This is an opportunity for Denmark to get a few picks, but they're looking very staggered here on point. CKM, the only healer left, but he's keeping everybody alive.
CKM, oh, what a pin! Nerf takes him for a ride. The ride you don't want to go on. Denmark resecures the point.
Even though a Kraken found that sleep onto Nerf, it didn't seem like they realized where he went after that boop, and when he wakes up, he comes in and cleans up both supports with the support of some nice snipes from Ding. Great recontest from Denmark, managing to stabilize here on point, and now they're looking at a time bank advantage.
That was so close and back and forth, but Denmark, with their swaps here, will get back in. And do you like staying on the Doomfist here?
Yeah, it's certainly better than Junkrat against his composition, but I worry against this Sombra. If Fisher gets caught up by a hack, he could be a major liability to his team. By the same token, you do have that stun potential, also able to shut down Huss's EMP, so it's really a high-skill matchup here.
Well, speaking of hacks, he does see the Brigida here. Huss rotating around the right-hand side, biding his time at the moment, holding on to the EMP, setting up, runs the EMP on both supports, and immediately it's Trill, Primal Rage, and ready to go, looking for the Mercy, needs just a tiny bit and gets it, the Goomba stop, 1 up for Trill, and Australia gonna be rolling right back onto the point.
The Nano Primal, just so much unblockable damage, potentially just time to delay for Team Denmark. Nice use of the self-destruct, Danny's able to remake, gonna get a lot of time off the point here. Fisher, almost with the ultimate, no, goes down to 99, can't sustain here.
I don't think Denmark's going to be able to pull a great escape this time. You do have the big charge coming in from Nerf.
Another pin on CKM. Oh, but he stays alive this time.
The Nano Boost keeps him alive there. Australia doing so well here on the point. Able to get control once more. Fisher leaping in, and that was another sleep with a very rude awakening. Australia going to set us to some extra rounds.
Australia guaranteeing themselves overtime. They're not out of this yet, but Denmark has secured themselves a pretty significant time make advantage. That's really going to come into play if both teams are capping first point. Getting that extra minute or two to formulate some second point offenses can mean the difference between a tick or nothing at all.
Ooh, man. And yeah, no, absolutely. in terms of time bank advantage. We've already seen it in key matches here in the Overwatch World Cup, where even just say 40 seconds on King's Row could be the difference between winning the match and simply losing. So there's a lot to be said for having that in your back pocket. But assault maps can be snowbally. It can be a situation where you get point A and immediately roll into point B, and certainly that, I think, is what Denmark wants to avoid most as we go into extra rounds.
Yeah, Denmark certainly hoping to just nail up a full hold here, guarantee themselves the tie, and that gives them the series win right there, given that they're already up 2-0. So Australia, the pressure's on them. They have a major disadvantage here, but can they bring it back nonetheless?
We will just have to see. Of course, Australia, a lot of hopes and dreams for this team. A lot of people think that, hey, you know, this team could upset a team like Sweden at the very least in trying to get to BlizzCon. But if you can't beat Denmark here, Australia's road would be very, very tough.
Great trap placement from Fischer. Makes a change from what he was doing in the previous round, trying to be a little bit unpredictable. That trap is targeted towards Sombras and Genjis that are wanting to sneak into the flank, and it's going to be very effective here potentially. Getting a pick with 1 minute on the clock can mean the difference between a fight or no chance at all.
Which of the two would you rather get as a Junkrat? If you had to get a Sombra or Genji in the trap, who do you want?
Well, personally, you'd rather have the Genji just because the respawn timer is a little bit longer, and that blade is such a crucial ultimate. But Huss spammed out. He's already broken his invis, forced back. These crucial seconds matter so much in the overtime scenario.
He's also been feeding off Junkrat charge. Fischer's at 55%.
If Fischer can get a tire as quick as he's building so far, things could be looking really grim for Australia. Punk was able to take it down last time, but I think Fischer's going to be ready for it here. And on the defense first point, it's much easier to get a good tire.
So far, this has been looking really good for Fischer. He's simply oppressing Australia right now. They haven't been able to get through. They use the defensive matrix, so they lead the way. They really heavily dive on him. They know he might have a tire. They want to take him out now. But the protection for Fischer. Sublime stays alive. Denmark playing well together. They repel Australia.
Australia looking completely shut down there, diving onto Fischer, but of course the Bionade comes in instantly, and the double heal from the Mercy on it. You just aren't getting through that without something like a Widowmaker. Punk so low, going to be forced to recontest. Shrill running back to point. At least the Sombra's going to be able to guarantee overtime, but the sleep!
What a great sleep! No escape for Huss that time. Australia already starting out at a 5v6. And guess what? Fischer, he's going to play a little bit ball, but no, he's going to bring out a tire.
Nice
Looking for anything on the thing. Going to the back. Oh, I think he might have gotten the D-Mac. He did. Gets Punk out of the back. Denmark holding firm here on Anubis, and Australia is in all sorts of trouble because now the best they could do would be a draw, which would mean they would still lose the series. Denmark has taken it.
Yeah, Denmark getting themselves the advantage in the series, but they're not going to be satisfied yet. They want that 4-0. Map score mattering so much in this format. And here we see Shaxx with that Infrasight. Oh, and comboing the sleep. That is rough.
Huss has had a tough game here, and I'm not going to blame Huss. I think Huss played really well yesterday, but Denmark has been just putting up the Sombra obstacle course here for Huss, where everyone is aware of where the Sombra may be. Sombra is a priority to punish, and we've been seeing Huss get taken out over and over again as a result.
And you got to give props to Dani on that front. Of course, D.Va, with no reload on her weapon, with that infinite ammo primary fire, she's able to just take a nice lineup on a map like Temple of Anubis that's so choky. And if you just constantly, you know, mouse one, control that line, if the Sombra can't cross that, can't get through without getting her invis broken, it's really, really difficult for her to get the scouting and the hacks that she wants to get. So that permanent invis doesn't matter if it's being broken by the D.Va. So great work by Dani, constantly getting in their face, not giving the dive the setups they want. And now Denmark, 3 minutes, 13 seconds. All they need to do is get one tick on this first point. Things are looking very good for them. Australia going back to this defensive high ground setup that worked so well for them last round.
And not only that, but you stop and think about, right, where the pressure has to be off for Denmark. You know that you've won the series here no matter what. So even if you don't get it, it's not the end of the world, but you do still want it.
I love this composition coming from Denmark. This is the theory-crafted counter for the Orisa comp. Of course, that Hammond just gives you that extra oomph, that extra unblockable damage that D.Va just can't respond to. So potentially this slam could be huge if it targets the right squishies.
Now, we have been seeing a little bit less Hammond here in this group stage because there is a little bit of a weird bug with him where he goes down a little bit slower than he normally does, but the overall raw power of the hero is such that you'll still see teams try him. And now we see Shaxx diving on in. It's a little bit slower, but it's still great. Knocks 3 people up right in the face of Orisa. Plenty of damage coming on in. Gets hit by the trap, though, so that might lead to his end as we see Fischer, bit out of the fight, healing up.
Shaxx able to escape with his life, luckily, but CKM might have a tough time returning back to spawn. Shaxx wants to go meet his teammates, going to use that shield to escape. But Fisher still in the backline, still has that setup stat he wants, but at least CKM is back now. And with the Empress, oh, Fisher attempting the spawn camp. Will he be punished?
Well, he's drawing a lot of attention to the back, which means that while you're looking at Fisher, you're not looking at the front. Nerf was able to get CKM as a result, so Denmark, they take full advantage of that distraction. Nerf just rolling on through, does get picked up. Huss, 2 here so far. Huss trying desperately to bring it back, but Shaxx dropped the bomb, going on in, and the swing his way back over. Australia's fighting tooth and nail, but now respawn attrition is a real thing.
Yeah, certainly for Australia, they're going to need to get some kills, and quick. Their spawns are so much slower, but there, Huss finding one. Can he get another? And Punk with his self-destruct, looking to make something happen here. The close spaces on point.
Huss has been the hero here so far. Key pickups over and over again. He's keeping Australia in this map so far. Can he get the honor? That'd be big. Needs one more shot. Going for the SMG fire, but no, couldn't get it.
Ding, fearlessly taking the duel there on 1 HP, almost taking down Huss. Great plays from the Ana here, but Denmark looking really aggressive, want to get right back into it. Fisher with the Nano Blade combo, almost ready. Ding, finishing that last second of charge.
Huss gonna get healed on up. Armor pack going on to him. Was looking for the headshot, and oh boy, you've angered 3 tanks here, Huss. What are you gonna do? Well, you're gonna go back to spawn. Shaxx gets his man. Fisher, blade out, looking to put the dagger deep into Australia's hearts here. 3 kills coming out from Denmark, and the point now coming under their control. Denmark, they weren't gonna be satisfied with the draw. They won the full 3-0.
It's all red in the kill feed. Denmark looking to take Temple of Anubis here. It's all over but the crying, and so much power on the point. They have ultimates to spare, so Denmark looking really clean on this offense. Figured out the mistakes they were making last round. Comes out with this Orisa comp. The Rip Tower comes in for a few kills, but it's just not going to be enough here on Temple of Anubis.
I mean, the Rip Tower, that was a moral victory at the end. It's like, well, I still got 2 people, but I'm nowhere near the point.
Hey, still farming up those damage stats. That's what really matters at the end of the day. Not really. You're going to want the map wins if you're Australia.
Look, you take what you can get. At that point, you're not getting the map win, so, you know, pad the stats a little bit. What could go wrong?
Yeah, you might as well, honestly. But you got to give it to Denmark, showing them even more versatility in their compositions. We haven't seen the Hammond out from them before, but Shaxx showing competency on that. He's been playing so many different characters here, and so has Fisher, and I think that versatility has really been one of their strengths.
Out of curiosity, do you think we would have seen the Hammond if they hadn't already won the series at that point? Do you think they would have gone with what they had opened up with? Because I do see sometimes teams try out different things when they know that it doesn't matter quite as much.
Well, one of the strengths of the Hammond in the overtime scenario is that you know you don't need to snowball at all, so you don't care at all about what's functional on second point because you're never getting there. All you need to do is get that first tick on A. And the Hammond gives you a lot more potential to do that against the Orisa comp. One of the weaknesses of this Orisa Junkrat comp is that you're very, very static. You all group up together, and that Hammond slam can be devastating there, as we saw.
Well, let's see what map 4 is going to be. Perhaps a moral victory here for Australia if they can get it. Certainly something that they'd want good map score. So, map 4, what are you going to be? What is it going to be? And it's going to be Junkertown. And, of course, that is going to be an escort map. And if you haven't seen an escort map, you're wondering, well, what is escort? We got the map video right here for you.
This is escort. 2 teams face off as either defenders or attackers. This is the payload. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to escort the payload along a set path containing 3 checkpoints. The payload only moves forward when an attacker stands near it. Defenders can delay the payload's movement by standing nearby at the same time. To get moving again, attackers must clear away the defenders by force. Every time the payload reaches a checkpoint, the attackers score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. If even one attacker is near the payload when the clock runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until the attackers are either cleared off the payload or they gain more time by reaching a checkpoint. The round ends when the payload reaches the destination or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points and escorts the payload farthest wins.
Junkertown, you know, even for being in the middle of nowhere and not really near too many big bodies of water, Pirates are still here.
Certainly Australia taking it back to the ancestral homeland, a place that I've come to know and love as well, the Junkertown. Well, I wonder if we'll see some classic Junkrat play here on this map. It's fallen a little bit out of favor in this meta, a little bit more dive-heavy compositions coming out. So I'm wondering what we're going to see from both teams here. We haven't seen, I think, any Junkertown so far in this stage.
No, we haven't. And of course, Junkertown, certainly a stage that is a little bit more unconventional than a lot of other maps where, you know, we mentioned a pirate ship comp, right? That's compositions where you run something like an Orisa with a Bastion and just power your way on through. Also, historically, it's been very kind to double snipers.
Even though there's a little bit of a lore advantage here for Team Australia going to their homeland, I think this is actually going to favor Denmark. I'm kind of surprised to see this map pick coming out from Team Australia. Shaxx has really been king of the Widowmaker so far, it seems, and this is an insanely Widowmaker-heavy map. Australia, though, looking to change the metagame, getting very, very aggressive. This is one of the most aggressive dive compositions that you can run. They want to get right in these double snipers' face and shut them down.
This is going to have to be just an incredible performance coming out of Shaxx and Fisher, respectively, to deal with the pressure that's coming in. And already, well, that's a bad omen. Hustle's right there. Find Shaxx immediately. And I do wonder if we might see a swap.
Yeah, they're returning to spawn. Looks like they want to go with some counter tech here. Danny's taking a bit of damage, but this is a very important fight for Team Australia. The surprise working out for them, but Shaxx already onto the McCree. So many stuns available for Team Denmark. Huss is going to be so scared to uncloak.
The patented Denmark, oh, well, I was going to say everyone protect Shaxx, but security detail might need to get fired. He immediately got bopped by Custa at Australia. Their aggression right now is certainly paying off.
And way too much pressure from the rest of the side of Team Australia. There's no chance for Kelix to get that res. He's just going to wait for the respawn. Denmark going to need to slow things down here, make sure they're not getting those easy initiations or those big right clicks coming out from Custa.
See Hammond going on in. Trill, the long goodbye, diving on in. Doesn't quite get anything there, but Australia, their aggression so far has been keeping Denmark a bit discombobulated, and Denmark just being slow to get on in, but they get Huss. That could be the start of something big.
CKM in the flank, but very low on this Dragon Blade charge. Wants to find a squishy target, but there really doesn't seem to be anything. So many stuns in his face. He's forced out, and without a DPS partner, he's going to really struggle to get an initiation here. I think Australia is going to go back and go for a reset. Trill going to stay in the back line here potentially, but the supports are out for Australia. They might get caught here.
Yeah, no. Australia, they simply have to back out, and I got to say, so far, this has not been a good outing for CKM on this round, where for as dominant as Australia was, you got to get more Dragon Blade charge than that.
Yes, certainly. It's going to be all on Huss with this EMP, but Shaxx, look at this positioning so far back.
Oh!
Behind him at max range.
This Deadeye is going. The sleep, shutting it down. The Deadeye was smart. The Ana was smarter. Australia making the most out of the EMP. They push Denmark back. And oh, Trill is looking for more. He says, oh, I'm not. This was not a great swing.
At the same time, Kelix playing to win that fight, convinced the Valkyrie, not getting anything out of it. So Australia has stabilized quite a bit here. CKM coming up in his Dragon Blade, but the Transcendence comes out from Denmark.
Shaxx was under pressure, got healed back up. Australia now getting forced back, and they were able to res up Fisher. So Denmark, they're ready to apply full pressure now.
This is CKM's moment, though, coming up on the Dragon Blade, and with no Transcendence from Ding, this is a major opportunity to slice up Team Denmark. It's really going to be all on Shaxx and Fisher to stun the blade away.
Gotta see what CKM is going to do here. Ding under pressure from Sommer in the back. Husto almost falls from the aggression. Australia going to invest in Transcendence. CKM, so far, nowhere to be seen. Waiting for the blade. Doesn't combo with the Transcendence. And that could be a mistake. Both teams trading out. Self-destruct gets one. CKM finally pulls the blade. Looking for the three. Had a rough engage, but still works out. Gets one. Looking for Mercy. Interception. Cuts him down.
Nice body block, shutting down that Guardian Angel. Now looking for Ding is CKM, but the armor comes on, and Denmark looking to stabilize here with their double healer. Shaxx is going to be coming back very soon with that high noon, and the resources are crumbling a little bit for Australia. Those tanks look way overextended out of LOS from their Ana to Zenyatta. There's just no healers left.
Australia that's just lost way too much here. Here comes a Deadeye from downtown. Look for those happy little skulls. Gets Custa on the window side. And Denmark has almost certainly done enough here to get point A, but give it to Australia. That was a good defense.
Yeah, great retake there on first point. I think getting a little over-eager there. It almost seemed like they could have a full potential there. But Australia getting pushed back. Custa getting chased down in the spawn. That's one of the struggles of Junkertown. Spawning late can usually mean your death on second point.
You know, there's part of me that wonders why Shaxx is named Shaxx and Ding is named Ding. Ding is a great thing for what Shaxx is doing right now is he's going for headshot after headshot.
Just plinking away here on the McCree. So powerful when you're defended with this Mercy and the Zenyatta.
Meanwhile, Huss waiting. Gates closing behind. No escape. The patient Sombra is what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, he really wants to find Ding, but Ding with the Transcendence always has the potential to just react to the EMP. Of course, EMP does take time to come into effect, and Transcendence is instant. So on this land environment, it's up. Oh,
got him! He was detected, but Ding didn't hit Transcend in time, and as a result, you see Australia taking good advantage. It's a clean sweep off of the EMP from Huss, and that Sombra Zenyatta battle so important.
I thought for sure Ding was going to make that reaction, especially after detecting the Sombra in the backline, but Australia winning a crucial fight here. Danny forced to reset, and the clock is counting down for Denmark, not with the progress that they would have wanted at this point, and Australia looking very aggressive here with this composition, able to dive these close, tight chokes on second point. This is a place where McCree might start to struggle. It's very difficult to find LOSs on the targets that you really want to be focusing.
It's definitely a tough task for Shaxx, where I do think Australia has adapted over the course of that matchup, where they're putting better dive on Shaxx, even with all the protection he's getting. You see the Hammond moving on in. Shaxx under pressure, has to back out. He loses the Brigida, but the 40 invested Transcend, so they're gonna res, they're gonna go back in, but the Transcendence was used just to stay in the fight, not with the fight.
Shaxx with the high noon, gonna have a hard time actually using your double support available for Australia. The Nanoblade comes in, chops down Kellich with the assistance of the Stomp.
He got stunned, but CKM gets the Brigida. You can't stop him here. This time to CKM, and off the Nanoblade, Australia sustains.
Finally, the Nanoblade that Australia were looking for there. Ding getting a little over-eager with the Transcendence. Great movements by Australia, forcing out the Transcendence without committing ultimates, and then CKM's able to come in with that Nanoblade and just sweep the floor. Denmark's going to have to change things up, goes to a more classic GT dive formulation.
You got the Genji Tracer coming on out, but they're going to be dealing with Huss here, who has another EMP, and just going to creep his way to the back line.
Huss looking very well positioned here, ready to shut down any aggressive plays from Team Denmark. Goes for the EMP on the tank. Shaxx is EMP'd as well. So difficult for a Tracer to play without those abilities. Now re-hacking the D.Va. Danny just has nowhere to go, no abilities left. Great team play from Team Australia, using only the EMP there, I believe.
And it feels like Huss has been getting a lot more value off the EMPs here. Why is he getting more room to work with here than he did for the rest of the series?
I think it just comes from how Team Australia is playing all together. They're capitalizing on his aggressive scouting potential and really getting all the way in Denmark's face, not letting them spread out and separate the way they were dealing with the EMP before. Denmark also forced off that McCree and that Brigida. Those are their answers to the Sombra last time. Now with this Genji and Tracer, both characters that really struggle when they're hacked.
Trill moving on in, minefield up, just gonna lay it down. Area denied, as Hammond says, so that's gonna make Denmark a little bit less agile as they try and go to a point. They sent Hammond for a little bit of nap, and Australia, they had to force out the Transcendence rather early there. That's not good for them in winning this fight, but they do get Shaxx. They punish him for the aggression. CKM wins the Genji v Genji. Punk getting back onto that point. Trill diving on in. Australia still very much in this. And the self-destruct going to be trying to deal with reinforcement. And catches Kellich. And yet Denmark still in this. But here CKM dives in. Wounded people in front of them. Grabs two. And this blade is a good one.
It's all on Nerf. Nanoed on the card. Shaxx is coming here to sustain though. Nerf looking very low, all alone. And the EMP comes out from Huss. That could be the end of things.
Australia, they were good on point A, even better here on point B. Fisher, a late Dragon Blade, can't even stand the payload.
Too much pressure there coming up from Team Australia. Their composition looking most effective here on Junkertown, more than it has been all series long. So maybe Australia finally getting their footing here in their ancestral homeland.
You know, I can believe it. A little bit of synergy there where it's like, yeah, bring it back to Australia. Let's go.
Yeah, I love to see it out of Australia, getting value out of that Hammond. They talked about in our interviews with them how much they like playing the Hammond, and I'm sure the change in the LAN environment where Hammond Slam just acts a little bit slower is really hurting them in this situation, but able to make it work here on Junkertown, not mattering at all, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the overall power of the Heroes kit sort of shining through there. And the reason why the Slam being a little bit slower on land right now and why that would be an impact is it comes down to look at all the great things Ana's been doing. Ana's can actually reaction sleep dart Hammonds when they go in right now, so it's trickier for a lot of situations.
Yeah, but for the sleeps, it's really been all a Kraken all series long, even though Australia's really struggled, not taking any maps so far. A Kraken sleeps have been on point throughout, so many props to him, really getting the most value out of this Ana returning to the meta.
And don't forget, with how close the series could be potentially between Australia and Sweden, between Denmark and, say, Sweden and China, just getting the map win here for Australia, which they are very likely to do given how their defense went, it still matters.
Yeah, way above average defense on Junkertown here. Denmark basically going to have to full hold first. Holding second point is an even more difficult task. So Denmark going to go with this classic double sniper composition that we've seen so much on these long sidelines of Junkertown. I mean, the Widow Hanzo combo is so threatening, especially against the Sombra. That Sonic Arrow is a major utility.
Got to see how it's going to turn out here. Let me ask you this. Australia was super hyper-aggressive here. What do you think about that style of Route 66 play?
it's very interesting and innovative because it's not what you expect to see. If you're Denmark, you're coming out, you're expecting to see a mirror match Orisa composition that plays very slowly. Shaxx here, though, setting up in the sideline. We'll see if he's able to get value. With no Widow on the opposing side, it's really on Huss and CKM to get with their tanks and stifle these sidelines.
You see what Shaxx can see right now, of course. Australia not really being too willing to give him a whole bunch of sightlines here just yet, but a good Widow finds a way.
CKM wrapping left while Huss wraps right. This is potential for a major surround here. Huss scouting everything, calling everything, so CKM can have the perfect setup.
Huss sees everything here, certainly seems to be paying attention to the Widow, and we'll see where the hack goes at the moment. Just stalking Shaxx, and doesn't go for the hack, just goes for the damage, and Shaxx, good movement, doesn't give Huss the tracking he's looking for.
Yeah, Kelix is instantly back to save him. You're not really going to get that kill all alone with the supports right there to protect the Widowmaker, but Shaxx feeling the pressure a little bit is forced to take a very passive position against this dive comp. Here's the real test for Australia, though. Can you cross this incredibly long sideline of Junkertown? Many teams have tried and failed to do so with dive, so Shaxx has the potential to carry this fight with no opposing Widowmaker. He's free to sit in whatever sideline that he wants.
They have to find a way to get the Shaxx without getting punished. That is the name of the game here. You see Huss setting it up, but it's a long way forward. The Widow on him, and Huss gets the pick off. That's a nice pick off coming in here from Australia, and now it's back and forth. Denmark is fighting it back. Fisher landing the arrows, and the Hanzo being oppressive right now on the other side.
All the focus going into Shaxx, but that just allows Fisher to farm everybody, getting a third kill in this fight. Wants the D.Va D-Mech. Looks like she's just going to be running back home to spawn. Great resilience there from Denmark, rezzing up Shaxx, and now the ultimates are starting to be online for Team Denmark. This is where things really get tough for Australia. Dealing with this Valkyrie, dealing with this Transcendence on a map like Junkertown, sometimes it's a struggle to even force those ultimates, much less get kills through them.
We got Huss looping around the backside again, looking for Shaxx. He's been priority number one. Trill, though, can't really get close enough to leap on him when he decides to go in, so Shaxx has a buffer zone.
Kelix committing the Valkyrie, potentially getting forced by the Sombra, getting a little bit scared there, so I expect to see Australia waiting this out. They're going to want to not engage until that Valkyrie's over. It's too much AoE healing for them to really deal with, but Shaxx layering the Infrasight just as the Valkyrie ends. Now Australia feels like they have to wait even longer, so the clock is just burning down here.
And note that Huss has gotten forced out. Huss is really far back right now. He's not around, and the reason is because the Infrasight is up by Shaxx. Huss can't do the aggression for the entire duration of that ultimate. Dragon Strike comes out from Denmark, doesn't do much, but you still see the delay coming out here, and now Huss finally is going to be able to start rotating back over.
And CKM with the Nanoblade is going to have to find something here. Ding's Transcendence, though, is up, and we've seen how hard it is for CKM to combo those blades, especially when you have to use the Devil Dash.
Dragon Blade out for CKM, he's going in deep, looking for something, does get it, gets onto the Hanzo. Now for the D-Mech, gets that with the support of his team. It's a well-calculated dive from Australia, and Huss wasn't even in it. Now he's coming back in on the flank.
Danny with a bit of Save Your Buddy syndrome gets punished there. At this point, it's really all on Shaxx to find some picks, but he's still very threatening from that passive high ground. But Nerf falls, and now the pressure is coming into Ding.
One thing of note here, though, is that the payload has not been getting pushed the entire time. That was all hands on deck from the Australian offense, but the payload, it's actually retreating back.
Shaxx pops both supports, though. This could be very, very risky for Team Australia. They have no heals left in the fight. They need to wait for those supports to get back, and Shaxx is capitalizing yet again, finds Huss. Trill, low on HP, doesn't want to get aggressive here.
Shaxx might have done enough, but the one thing Australia has to avoid here, it has to be the self-destruct coming in from Danny. As soon as he feels like there's a lot of people, he's going to let it fly. Now it goes, drops that back, and got absolutely nothing. That was a miscalculation if I ever saw one in Australia. They dive in with the Nano Boost, they punish, they electrocute Fisher, and Trill moving in, making space. Point A, going to be going to Australia here if they play their cards right.
Nerf getting a lot of value in the backline, but not as much as Trill. That Nano Boost is too much to deal with. There's Australia capping point A, but so much time off the clock. Now the full hold on second looks very possible for Team Denmark, and look what the composition they're going to is. This has been the thorn in Australia's side all series long. These multiple stunts have been shutting down Huss, and with low farm on this EMP, he's going to be really struggling to build it up.
And do you think the McCree is better here on the defense compared to the offense where Denmark got a little bit stalled out?
Oh, certainly, because when you're able to take this high ground position for free, McCree is much more effective. On the offense, you're forced to the low ground just to get to an effective position, and that's not where you want to be. That's a moment of vulnerability. So McCree from this high ground is going to be a lot more threatening, and you can see Huss, he's so worried. It's so difficult for him to uncloak and build up that EMP charge. But Shaxx isn't ready for him.
Well, you see Australia diving on in, which means that they're not looking at Huss from the backside, and Huss just laying in the damage here. No one's even looking at him. Does get forced out, but it's a nice dive coming in from Australia, but they don't get the early pickups. They decide, you know what, we still like this. We're going to invest the barrier, but they don't end up getting good use out of it. All they do is live, but they can't push back into Denmark.
CKM, though, coming up on the Nanoblade combo. This could be a big potential. No support ultimates available for Denmark. They really need to hit a stun on this Dragon Blade.
See just how it works out. A Kraken holding on. Nanoblade coming in. CKM immediately destroys Fisher. A little bit confused as to where everyone else is, but still finds the Zen. Easy pickings for CKM, and Australia is on their way.
Yeah, at this point, Australia looking to take Junkertown here. Denmark doesn't seem to have any answers left. Shaxx is one of the last alive. He's forced to retreat for a health pack, but McCree, one of the worst characters in these final second situations.
Australia, they just a few more meters here, and I'm not sure anyone can touch a point. It's going to be close, but they do get their time just to potentially get blown up. Australia for control. They drop the EMP. Denmark in disarray, and Australia will not be going down without getting a little bit of something for their efforts. Looking to be a 3-1 here. They take Junkertown away from Denmark.
Great movement by Australia around the map. That was definitely too close for comfort, but finally CKM's Nanoblade finding the targets that he's looking for, picking off those supports, and with no heals left, it's all over. And just great movements by Australia around the map. I mean, that's a very difficult composition to play against. The McCree and the Brigitte, those stuns, so difficult to answer. But great verticality by CKM. He stays in the air. It's too difficult for Fisher to find the sun. And when he focuses Fisher first, that's your main threat down.
Also, I'd say this is that, look, Australia has been a slow starting team since Friday when we've been watching them. And CKM, I do think, had a little bit of a rough go in the first 3 maps of the series, but he did look much better on Junkertown, and that could be good for Australia as they look towards some very difficult matches later in the day.
Yeah, Australia seem to be finding their footing here, but they'll need to be much stronger in future series. They need to get more wins on the board. Right now, Denmark is going to be top of the scoreline. Of course, these were the top 2 teams in the standings, at least. So Australia going to be needing to bring something new, maybe get a lot more 4-0s in their upcoming series.
Well, no doubt about it. And again, remember that as far as it goes, we haven't been able to see teams that have 2 or more losses get in. But you know what? We got Zoe down the floor. We got an interview. Let's check it out.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, I'm standing here with Kelix from Team Denmark. So first and foremost, of course, congratulations to you and your team starting off day 2 strong. Now, Australia did manage to snatch away that last map. However, on the first 3, you guys looked coordinated. You were very quick on the necessary switches. And overall, you looked very well prepared. Were some of the comms and strats you were running tailored specifically to Australia?
Not really, we just tried to play our game. I think the reason why we were shaky yesterday is because we were nervous and we just needed to get used to the stage, so we just played our game.
And that worked out just fine for you. Now, you have another big one coming up. Your next opponent will be China, which is considered one of the favorites to actually make it out of this group stage. Do you think you can hold on to the momentum?
Maybe, I hope so at least.
Okay, hoping. Let's go for that, but you guys look absolutely fantastic on this stage. Can't wait to see you again in a few hours. So thank you very much for joining me here on the floor, Kelix. We're now heading over to the casters to break down the action.
Thank you, Zoe. Of course, Kelix there, a little bit nervous confidence, I'd say. It was like, yeah, I guess, but you know what? They should feel more confident because they looked great in the series.
Keeping it very honest there, but I like that, that he's just focusing on we're playing our own game. We're not prepping too hard for Australia. But what I liked about Team Denmark is that they're able to play their own game at the same time countering what Australia was bringing out. I mean, Australia has felt like they really don't know, they're not as effective without that fire composition. That's really their bread and butter. But of course, the McCree, the Zenyatta, and the Mercy, you don't want to be playing Pharah into that much damage boost. So great plays from Denmark, showing that their game is certainly strong enough to take down Australia.
And of course, we were watching it all series long, and in case you're tuning in, of course, time zone differences can be a little bit rough. We got you covered. We got some highlights from the last match where we can go all through it, and I gotta say, there's some great plays, and this man Shaxx here, certainly a big one where, special delivery, blow them all up.
Such a great clutch play here from Shaxx. It almost looked like Australia was going to manage to stabilize. Here we see him on the Zarya, focusing down this nano-boosted Mercy. Not what we see every day, but 100 energy Zarya is a massive threat in the backline. A Kraken finding the nade to stabilize here on this offense.
In Australia, they definitely had their moments where, look, I think if you take a look at the coordination between Huss and Trill, when they were on, they were on. Good EMPs into the Nano Winston. I'd say the biggest part is that Huss was just getting checked a lot.
Yeah, equipping way more stuns makes you way more prepared for the Sombra, and that fear of the stuns, even if you're not actually picking off the Sombra with them, is going to limit her mobility on the map. A Kraken getting so many insane sleeps all series long. Wow, look at that, sliding around the corner to pick up McCree.
It was high noon, and you know what? High noon's a good time for a nap.
Yeah, certainly for McCree, I guess. Not that that was intentional for him.
Trill, of course, again, this is just the Nano Boost dives, and he was consistent, and he was consistent yesterday as well. Wasn't quite enough for Australia in the end, but CKM, more of a redemption story on Junkertown, to be sure.
Yeah, finally getting value out of this Genji Sombra combo. Has so much potential, but you do need to realize it with perfect ultimate tracking. If you're not ready for those Transcendences, those Brigitte rallies, those can really shut down your combo. And if you miss one dash reset, everything comes crashing down.
Yep, and you know, credit to CKM, he was able to get together towards the end of the series. So I am curious to see what he does a little bit later today.
Yeah, certainly there's a lot more to see from him and all the rest of Australia.
Well, guys, you know what? This is just the first game of the day. Still a lot to come at you. China versus Thailand up next.